Shiryu comes in at number 15. And honestly, his story is wild from start to finish. Once known as the chief jailer of Impel Down, he built a reputation so terrifying that the entire world saw that prison as a place no one in their right mind would try to break into. And the reason was simple. No one wanted to cross paths with Shiryu. His swordsmanship was so brutal and unforgiving that even seasoned pirates would rather face the ocean than stand in front of his blade. Ironically, despite being the one who kept others behind bars, Shiryu eventually lost his position and ended up thrown into a cell himself. But fate clearly wasn't finished with him. During the massive Impel Down breakout, Magellan needed every bit of help he could get to stop Blackbeard's crew. He even went as far as relying on Shiryu, yes, the same guy who used to oversee the harshest punishments in the entire prison system. And in the most chaotic twist possible, Shiryu not only helped, but later that very same day, joined Blackbeard's crew. Absolute menace behavior. After they eliminated Absalom, Shiryu got his hands on the Tsukisuke no Mi, the invisibility devil fruit. It gives him the ability to turn himself invisible, as well as anything he touches. And while the power itself is dangerous, that's not actually what makes Shiryu terrifying. The real problem is that he has zero honor. None. This guy kills for fun. He's ruthless, unpredictable, and perfectly fine with stabbing you in the back while you're blinking. That lack of morality, combined with his already devastating skills, makes him a threat to pretty much anyone, even the strongest fighters alive. He absolutely deserves his spot among the most dangerous swordsmen in the world. Next up is S-Hawk, a name fans have been buzzing about ever since his introduction. S-Hawk is one of the Seraphim created by Vegapunk, part of that new generation of genetically modified weapons modeled after the Shichibukai. Each Seraphim carries the DNA, appearance, or abilities inspired by the deadliest warriors in world history. And Shish, specifically, was created based on Dracul Mihawk, the strongest swordsman in existence. What makes S-Hawk even more intriguing is the hint that he also has traits from the Lunarian race. Those abilities might have been extracted when the government captured Kane, the last surviving Lunarian. That combination, Mihawk's swordsmanship fused with Lunarian durability and fire, already sounds illegal. SH's debut in Amazon Lily left a huge impression. Even though the fight was brief, Blackbeard himself had to use armament Haki to block S-Hawk slash. Let that sink in. A Yonko had to reinforce himself against a kid version of Mihawk. On top of that, S-Hawk wields a sword that looks basically identical to Uru, Mihawk's legendary black blade. We still don't know if it's a replica or something else entirely. But the symbolism is loud. Despite his very short amount of screen time, S-Hawk has already clashed with the likes of Blackbeard, Lucci, Kaku, Zoro, and Luffy. Sure, none of those battles were full power exchanges. But the fact that he stood his ground while facing that lineup is insane. And the craziest part is that there are still 13 swordsmen even stronger than him on this list. Coming in next, we have Chalo, better known as Trafalgar Law. He's one of the most iconic members of the worst generation, famous for being a genius strategist, a master planner, and someone who always thinks 10 steps ahead. His biggest goal is uncovering the truth behind the D initial and the mysteries buried within the Void Century. Law's devil fruit, the Ope no Mi, is easily one of the most important and most versatile abilities in the entire world. It has absurd surgical powers, space manipulation, and the legendary immortality operation. But despite how powerful the fruit is, Law is also a surprisingly capable swordsman. He uses his blade, Kakoku, with solid precision, even without relying on his devil fruit. We've seen this multiple times. For example, his clash with Smoker shows that Law isn't helpless without his abilities. He also managed to block several of Doflamingo's attacks in pure sword combat. But Law's most iconic sword moment is definitely the fight against Virgo, one of Doflamingo's strongest subordinates. Law sliced an entire building, actually, multiple surrounding mountains, with one strike. It's still one of the most visually shocking attacks in One Piece. And that's not even his peak. In Wano, Law awakened his devil fruit, pushing his combat power to an entirely new level. Alongside Kid, he played a crucial role in taking down Big Mom, yes, one of the 4 emperors. That alone proves he belongs in any conversation about top-tier fighters. At number 12 is King the Wildfire. King is the right-hand man of Kaido and a Lunarian, the last surviving member of a tribe known for unmatched durability, insane flame abilities, and near-mythical resilience. His backstory is tragic. As a child, he was captured by the world government and experimented on because of his unique race. Kaido was the one who freed him, and from that moment on, King pledged absolute loyalty to him. Even though King's sword isn't officially named, he uses it with deadly precision. He once single-handedly prevented the entire Big Mom crew from entering Wano by stopping their ship at the waterfall. That's not something a random swordsman can do. And of course, his extended fight with Zoro proved just how tough and skilled he really is. Their battle was long, brutal, and full of hype moments. Fun fact: recent information confirms King was with Kaido when they discussed attacking Marineford. That shows how much Kaido trusted him, not as a follower, but as someone powerful enough to stand beside him in war. Now we arrive at Admiral Fujitora, introduced after the time skip as one of the newly appointed admirals. Fujitora immediately stood out. He has a unique sense of justice, prioritizing the well-being of ordinary people above everything else, even the Marine's image. Although visually he appears like a blind swordsman leaning on a cane. That cane is actually a shikomizu, a concealed Japanese sword. And as if that wasn't already cool enough, Fujitora's devil fruit is a perfect match for his swordsmanship. His powers allow him to manipulate gravity itself. With a single motion of his blade, he can push massive objects away, pin enemies to the ground with crushing force, or summon literal meteors from the sky. Throughout the series, Fujitora has fought Doflamingo, Sabo, Luffy, and the Revolutionary Army, and he never took real damage. In fact, he wasn't even fighting seriously in most of those encounters. That alone speaks volumes about how terrifying he actually is. And that's where we'll pause for now. Next on the list is Big Mom, one of the most overwhelming forces in the entire One Piece world. She's not just powerful, she's a walking natural disaster with an appetite that includes, well, pretty much anything, people included, and thanks to that incident where she devoured the previous user of the Soru no Mi. She inherited the fruit's terrifying powers. With it, she can manipulate souls, animate objects and weapons, and even create terrifying homies like Prometheus and Zeus. But here's the thing. Big Mom isn't just about her devil fruit. She's one of the few characters who's mastered all three types of Haki, including Haoshoku Haki, and her physical strength is so absurd that it sometimes feels like Oda is trolling. She can knock out a giant creature with one slap. She can snap bones without even trying. She once tried to squash a mosquito sitting on a giant's back, and accidentally shattered the guy's ribcage. She's just built differently. Her primary weapon is Napoleon, a living sword infused with part of her soul. Napoleon can transform, expand, and channel her power in ridiculous ways. Big Mom's reputation is so fearsome that even Gol D avoided clashing head-on with her back in the day. He sneaked into her territory to get what he wanted and left without picking a fight, out of respect, caution, or both. That doesn't mean she's stronger than Roger, of course, but it does show just how alarming her strength can be. And the crazy part? There are still 9 swordsmen ahead of her. Now let's talk about Zoro, the pirate hunter. He's the right-hand man of Luffy and the very first person to join the Straw Hat crew. Unlike many characters who pick up a sword just because it looks cool, Zoro lives and breathes swordsmanship. It's his identity. His dream is simple but insane: become the greatest swordsman in the world. Zoro's signature style is the three-sword style, Santoryu, using Wado Ichimonji, Sandai Kitetsu, and Enma. Each blade has its own history, temperament, and difficulty level. Enma especially is notorious for draining its wielder's Haki, something Zoro learned the hard way. But after mastering it, he unlocked a new level of power that completely changed the battlefield. His early duel with Mihawk humbled him completely, but Mihawk himself praised Zoro's spirit and potential. That moment defined Zoro's path forward. Since then, he's fought countless powerful opponents, but his greatest achievements were in Wano. He scarred Kaido, one of the strongest creatures alive, and defeated Kane, Kaido's right-hand man. And what's terrifying is that Zoro still hasn't reached his peak. His future strength is almost guaranteed to skyrocket. Up next is a mysterious new force, the Holy Knights. Their introduction instantly shifted the tone of the entire story. These warriors serve directly under Saint Figarland Garling, who once ruled God Valley. They're the elite guardians of the celestial dragons, the true reason why almost no one dares attack Mariajoy. Although we haven't seen their full abilities yet, their presence alone changed the global power balance. Everything about them, their armor, their reputation, their implied combat experience, points to them being far stronger than typical Marines or even admirals. Their ranking on this list is currently an estimate, but one thing is certain: they aren't to be underestimated. When the story finally shines a spotlight on them, we're likely to see some of the strongest swordsmanship in the entire world. Next is another educated assumption: Saint Ethanbaron v Nusjuro. One of the 5 elders. Like the others, he's shrouded in mystery. Officially, he's known as the warrior god of finance, and is one of the few people who understands the truth about Iamu's existence. But recent events revealed something new. The elders can transform into monstrous, ancient-looking creatures, suggesting that each one possesses powers far beyond those of normal humans. Nusjuro stands out because he's the only elder who openly carries a sword. Many fans believe that his blade might be one of the legendary 12 supreme-grade swords, an absolutely wild possibility. These swords are historically used by the most dominant fighters of all time. Another chilling detail. Every elder seems completely unfazed even when standing near Imu or confronting massive threats. They behave like beings who have nothing to fear, implying that their combat power is on par with the world's deadliest monsters. If Nusjuro truly is a swordsman of that caliber, then his placement on the list is more than justified, even without a full demonstration of his abilities. Now we arrive at Silvers, better known as Silver's Rayleigh. He was the first mate of the Roger pirates and Roger's most trusted partner. The two met when they were young, and Rayleigh's reputation grew so fast that Marines back then reportedly preferred fighting Roger over getting involved with Rayleigh. That alone tells you how respected and feared he was. Rayleigh never ate a devil fruit, yet he mastered all 3 types of Haki. Not only that, but he trained the next generation of monsters, including Luffy and Zoro. Throughout his pirate career, Rayleigh fought legendary figures, and even Garp and Sengoku acknowledged his strength. His nickname, the Dark Cane, is well earned. Even in old age, at 76, he was able to confront Admiral Kizaru head-on during the Sabaody incident, something very few people in the world could do. And that raises a chilling question: if Rayleigh is this strong in his twilight years, how unbelievably powerful was he at his peak? Following Rayleigh is another titan of the old era, Kazuki Oden. This man was a natural-born legend. He was the daimyo of Kuri, destined to become the shogun of Wano, and the leader of the 9 Red Scabbards, samurai who loved and followed him like family. Oden wielded 2 iconic blades, Aim no Habakiri and Enma. Later, he left Wano, becoming the 2nd Division commander of Whitebeard's crew before joining Roger on the final journey to find the One Piece. Fighting alongside those 2 monsters pushed Oden's strength to insane levels. When he returned to Wano, Oden proved just how strong he'd become. He nearly defeated Kaido in a one-on-one clash using nothing but his own power. His Haki was so overwhelming that when he died, his presence lingered within Enma, making the sword incredibly demanding for any new wielder. Even Zoro struggled to handle it at first. Up next is the red-haired emperor himself, Shanks. Just like Rayleigh and Oden, Shanks is connected to the Roger era. He was an apprentice aboard the ship along with Buggy. After Roger's death and the crew's disbandment, Shanks formed the Red Hair Pirates, eventually rising to the rank of Yonko with a bounty exceeding 4 billion berries. Shanks doesn't have a devil fruit, but he's a master of all 3 types of Haki, especially Conqueror's Haki, which is rumored to be the strongest in the world. His sword, Griffin, is still mysterious, but many fans suspect that it may also be a supreme-grade sword. Shanks is feared and respected equally by pirates and Marines. At Marineford, he ended the war with just words and presence. More recently, he obliterated Kid with a single attack, an outrageous feat considering Kid had just helped defeat Big Mom. And of course, his long-running rivalry with Mihawk is the stuff of legend, though neither ever fought seriously enough to settle the score. Now we reach the man widely regarded as the strongest swordsman alive, Dracul Mihawk. The hawk-eyed master of the blade. Mihawk was once a member of the Shichibukai, and unlike every other warlord, he operated completely alone, no crew, no subordinates, no small army backing him. Just his presence was enough to make the entire world cautious. That kind of fear is only earned by someone whose power is unquestionably real. Mihawk wields Uru, one of the 12 supreme-grade blades, an elite class of swords held only by the most legendary warriors in history. Uru isn't just a weapon, it's a symbol of absolute dominance. Throughout the story, Mihawk remains shrouded in mystery, but every glimpse we get of him hints at terrifying strength. His casual training duels with Shanks were so intense that their clashes were said to echo throughout the Grand Line. And their rivalry is still spoken of as one of the greatest in the era before the Great Pirate Age. The Marineford War gave us one of the clearest demonstrations of Mihawk's skill. When he stepped onto the battlefield, even the strongest fighters took him seriously. Vista, Whitebeard's most powerful swordsman, fought him on equal footing for a short while. But it was obvious Mihawk wasn't going all out. And then there's his new bounty, 3.59 billion berries. The 5th highest in the world, even surpassing Buggy's. The funniest part is that the world government mistakenly thinks Mihawk works under Buggy. If they truly believed Mihawk was independent, his bounty would probably be even higher. That alone shows how terrified the government is of him. But before crowning Mihawk completely, we have to talk about the swordsman ranked right beneath him, Ryuma. A legend from centuries past, Ryuma is worshipped as one of the greatest samurai to ever walk the earth. He wielded Shisui, another extraordinarily rare and powerful blade, known as one of Wano's national treasures. Ryuma wasn't just strong, he embodied the purest form of samurai spirit. His discipline, skill, and unwavering resolve turned him into a myth during his own lifetime. One of his most famous feats was slaying a dragon with a single slash, a moment that still echoes through global folklore. Ryuma defended Wano single-handedly for years, driving away pirates and invaders alike. He was so unbeatable that the world bestowed upon him the title, Sword God. But his strict philosophy also led to a strange habit: if anyone touched the scabbard of his sword, even by accident, he considered it a challenge to a duel. That level of conviction contributed to many unnecessary battles. But it also showed how deeply he believed the sword was the soul of a warrior. Long after his death, Gecko Moria reanimated Ryuma's corpse as a zombie, using Brook's shadow to provide movement and personality. Even then, running on only a fraction of his former power, Ryuma was more than a match for Zoro. Their brief but intense duel ended only when Zoro struck him down. And Zoro himself acknowledged Ryuma as a swordsman worthy of the highest respect. And now, finally, we come to the top of the list. The number 1 swordsman in all of One Piece, GolDRoger. The Pirate King. Roger wasn't just strong, he was legendary. He formed the Roger Pirates, sailed the entire world, conquered the Grand Line, and discovered the One Piece itself. His influence reached every corner of the sea. And even now, decades after his death, his legacy continues to shape the world. Rumors say Roger could defeat the army of an entire nation by himself. Very few dared to fight him. And the ones who did rarely came out unscarred, if they survived at all. Roger mastered all 3 forms of Haki, and many believe he possessed the strongest Haki of his era. Maybe even the strongest ever recorded. Although the series doesn't spotlight Roger as a swordsman as heavily as some others. He absolutely fought using a sword. His blade, Ace, is another supreme grade weapon, putting him in the same legendary tier as Mihawk, Whitebeard, Shanks, and potentially Nusjuro. With Ace in hand, Roger performed feats that barely seem possible. He clashed evenly with Whitebeard, splitting the very heavens apart with the shockwaves of their strikes. He struck down Oden with a single blow, a man powerful enough to scar Kaido. And together with his crew, he defeated Rox D. Zebek, one of the most dangerous figures in history. Roger achieved the highest bounty in the world and became the only person to find the One Piece. His strength, mastery of Haki, and dominance in swordsmanship make him undeniably deserving of the top position on this list. And with that, we've reached the end of the ranking of the strongest swordsmen in One Piece. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Wishing you an amazing start to your week, full of energy. Good luck, and good vibes. See you in the next video.